Hey everybody, this is Dina from VOC. When we talk about domestic violence, we always relate to physical or sexual abuse. But did you know, in 2017, 50% of cases reported to WAO, which is Women's AIDS Organization, is related to psychological abuse? How can we define someone who has been psychologically or emotionally abused? It cannot be seen, so how do we know someone who has been abused? What we're doing here is to get people's thoughts and opinion about psychological abuse domestically in Malaysia. And then we're going to meet up with WAO members to understand more about it. Let's see what people have to say.
I think it's still beyond control, but it's worse than psychology, you know.
It's quite serious in the sense of in the community memang serious.
I think something that is so psychological and so subjective and abstract cannot be quantified obviously, and cannot be, it's not our norm to say it out loud.
Basically, perhaps we do not have the amount, but it could be serious, because my personal opinion is this can be generational. Because sometimes we don't realize that our parents could be indirectly having this emotional abuse that we felt as a kid, but actually it's been brought up from our grandparents itself.
Okay.
So I think that's where it actually transfers. So I think this can be a serious problem because it can be accumulating throughout the years, but we do not know, we do not realize.
I believe kalau siapa yang ada anak-anak will be anak-anak lah.
I think the most affected would be the daughters. They tend to think that, you know, it's okay if my future husband physically, psychologically abuses me, or my boyfriend does the same. You know, it's perfectly normal. We are all it's supposed to be like that.
Everyone in the family, really, even the abuser, because you know, not addressing the problem is actually giving the abuser more sort of power to think that they can do it.
Yeah.
To compare then and now, obviously you can't, because now has its own context. I'm not too sure whether it's getting worse, but I'm happy that it's beginning to surface. Means more people are reading up about it, or more people are more vocal about it. Like probably in the past, awareness was not really there because people didn't really share their private life.
I think, my personal opinion, every one of us has been psychologically abused at a certain point, but whether or not we realize it, that's another question.
Kalau default pun you macam tak ke mana, that's why sometimes people malas.
For me, I think no. Why? Because many of them actually do not know that they're being abused.
I've been with the police people and all the time kan, and counselor, mediator kan. Usually bila benda-benda macam ni, you balik lah, you settle kan, you jumpa lah ayah dia, mak dia. The polis dia kalau boleh dia tak nak ambil kes-kes yang macam ni, sebab dia tahu memang tak ada perselisihan di antara suami dia. You go back, you go and talk to the parent, maybe your friend kan.
Tak juga actually, dia punya faktor tu bagi saya 50-50 lah kot.
A lot of time lah, I think majority out of 100% is not from the women themselves. There are a lot other factors. Kalau from the women themselves is at the part orang kata yang dah sampai to the climate trigger point where the women may burst, then it seems as if it comes from her. Tapi kalau you go to the root, there are a lot of others.
Try to look for a social support group. I think that's really, really important. Second, don't take it as normal. Don't take it as it's supposed to be like this. Never let it sink down into you that it's a new normal, because when it becomes that way, you know, it's just reinforced generation after generation.
You know, my advice would be just speak up and read more, because a lot of people don't know that they are being, without realizing they're actually being psychologically abused. They don't know that, which is why, because not addressing the problem is actually the biggest problem.
It is said that mental abuse is much more painful than physical abuse because you are consumed by your own thoughts, but many of us are still in the grey areas of what it really means being in psychological abuse. What makes it different than being in an unhealthy relationship? To understand more about this, we met up with Kirath, a community engagement officer, and Vaneezha, an executive officer from WAO in Kuala Lumpur, to get more insight about psychological abuse and the case studies in Malaysia.
So psychological abuse is when the person is experiencing fear and also their life is at threat. Okay, and it doesn't always have to be this extreme where fear or life is at threat, but also when they feel uncomfortable or that incident or particular thing is causing stress in them, that they are unable to do their normal daily life routines and all that. So that is like the main symptoms showing that you are experiencing psychological abuse.
I think in 2017, 53.76% of women that we have helped reported psychological abuse. So it comes hand in hand with domestic violence.
I see.
The causes can be, there's many factors that contributes to this. So there's no one sole reason that, oh, because he's an alcoholic, or because he's experiencing stress at work, or because the woman has done something wrong. You know, these are the most common thing that people ask, and the first thing that comes in their mind is that, is he an alcoholic? Is he a drug addict? Maybe his upbringing was like that, or do you think she did something wrong and all that? But basically, it's more about power and control.
I wanted to give an example just to highlight why we say it's power and control. Alright, let's say this perpetrator is an abusive person to their partner. Okay, do you think they will, even if they're stressed at work, do you think they will go and hit their boss, their female boss?
Are they able to do it?
Are they able to do that? And why do you think they are not able to do that? Because the female boss has power.
Yes.
Right? More power than them.
Yeah.
So that's why we say the root cause is power and control. Other things are trigger factors.
I see.
Yeah. A lot of the times when you hear about people experiencing domestic violence or abusive, or are in an abusive relationship, the first thing that people say is, why don't they just leave? You know, if the relationship is bad for them, why they don't leave? So they don't realize that the person is stuck in a cycle of violence. Okay, so the cycle of violence starts with where everything's great. Yeah, so the survivor is in love with this person, you know, or the survivor loves this person. It's called the honeymoon period. Everything's great. So then what happens is, after that, tension starts to build in the relationship. Now when tension starts to build, the survivor will do everything possible to make sure that they don't upset the perpetrator. But because of the dynamics of the relationship, something will happen. Okay, it can be as trivial as the coffee wasn't hot enough, which is a real life example that happened to one of the survivors that have come to us for help. Okay, and then there will be a violent incident. Okay, so this violent incident can take any form. Okay, physical, whatever form it takes. After this violent incident, the perpetrator will do two things usually. One is they will say, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. They become really regretful of their actions. Then they will say, I'm stressed at work, this, that. Okay, or they will say, they will gaslight the survivor, and they will tell the survivor, look, it's your fault. You know, if you were a better person, if you knew how to make me happy, this wouldn't happen. Yeah. And because the survivor's sense of self is so tied to what the perpetrator thinks of them, this works. And then it goes back to the honeymoon period, and then it starts all over again. Yeah, and every time they go through one cycle, it repeats with even more violence. It becomes worse and worse, more severe. Yeah. have a good explanation. Okay, so when it is an unhealthy relationship and there's a lot of arguing, right? So two people are arguing like this. Okay.
Yes.
Right. In a situation of domestic violence and an abusive relationship, because of the power imbalance, the argument is like this. This person is just listening. This person is just attacking. Okay, so you can feel the power dynamics in your relationship. Okay, do you feel scared of your partner? You know, do you feel threatened? Do you feel like you have equal say? Yeah, so these are, I think, important points for you to think about when you are in whatever relationship you have, not only romantic, you know, within your family as well. Yeah.